Hello and a very warm welcome to you wherever you may be. My name is Bayo Adewusi. Our daily lives are replete with examples of the positive uses of science to improve our domestic and daily needs. The cell phone is an apt example, so are many others. Science and its application indeed makes life better for humankind. In Nigeria, the distinction between pure academics and science and the physical applications seem to be quite rigid, but that is changing and changing fast, as my guest today would bear witness to. You'll meet him if you don't go away. My guest started out life as an academic, obtaining a doctorate in engineering, geology, and geotechnics almost 3 decades ago. Without doubt, he has lectured extensively in some of our major universities. The interesting thing about my guest is that theoretical knowledge has found expression in practical use, as you will find out in the course of the program. Please welcome Dr. Ajibola Meshida, an engineering geologist and the NLNG Prize winner for science in 2008. Dr. Meshida, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you.
You've been in this game, the academics and its practical applications for so long that one begins to wonder where you were. Where were you until the LNG discovered you as the winner for the 2008 prize in science?
I've been a private practitioner since I left University of Ife, Obafemi Awolowo University, in 1991. And by 2001, I joined the University of Lagos by invitation to teach geotechnical engineering in the Department of Civil Engineering.
Tell me, sir, we know about civil engineering, we know about mechanical engineering, but geotechnic engineering, what exactly is that?
It's a fairly strange discipline here in Nigeria. Geotechnics means the combination of geology as a science with the technical civil engineering sciences, soil mechanics and foundation engineering to be geotechnics.
Yes, sir, but as unusual as this sounds, you obtained your doctorate at the University of Ife about over 2 decades ago. Yeah. So if it was available at the University of Ife, it shouldn't be novel, should it?
Well, the availability of the discipline in Ife in those days was by courtesy of the German research assistants, the DAAD, who brought geotechnics to University of Ife, Department of Geology. And I benefited from that educational scheme at that time.
Now, but what propelled you in that direction? One would have imagined that there were quite a number of, should I say, popular branches of engineering. What was this as a result of some prodding by some people in that direction? Or was it something that just came upon you because you were some sort of a visionary?
No. Well, it has its history. In the first instance, I graduated from University of Ibadan in 1967 as an arts graduate, English, history, and geography. But my elder brother, who is a civil engineer, advised and pushed, so to say, me into studying science. So I went back to the University of Ibadan to begin my journey in science in prelim class, and then studied geology. That was between 1968 and 1971. So after graduating geology, my senior brother, as a civil engineer, had a private company of soil engineering. So he invited me to join him, and by way of encouraging me further, pushed me into more difficulties to go into the civil engineering department of UNILAG to study soil mechanics and applied mechanics, which I did to obey him in 1972. Then after that, I joined him to practice engineering geology. It was like a family business, but then it went broader than that, and I wanted to improve my rudimentary knowledge. So I joined the DAAD at Ife as a student in 1975. So the department was encouraged by my presence and encouraged me to join them as a lecturer.
Okay, so you've lectured extensively, but the part that interests, and I'm sure will interest a number of our viewers, is the fact that your theoretical knowledge has been converted into practical terms, into producing things that can benefit the populace and the community.
Yes.
And you invented a powder.
Yes.
That is said to improve road construction. Tell us about that.
That powder is a chemical substance, and it has been the result of research spanning about 26 years. That's the knowledge of geochemistry, which is a discipline in geology, and together using soil mechanics principles of soil improvement, soil stabilization, as they know it in civil engineering. And what has happened is that our so-called laterite soils are essentially clayey materials, and we use these clay materials extensively for road making, and that has been the main problem of road destabilization throughout the country. So this substance was the result of my quest to find something that would break the consistency of clays, and it was not easy. I had to use chemistry, geochemistry a lot, and after some time, after the 26 years, it succeeded.
So you remind me of the ancient inventors, Archimedes, Newton, and those early Europeans who just toiled and believed in something until they came out with discoveries and results that were acceptable. Now, what gave you the fervor? What gave you the belief that at the end of the day, your research and its practical application would be successful?
Well, that's an interesting question. I didn't know what propelled me on, because it was extremely difficult and frustrating. For years, it seemed I was just wasting my time, wasting my life, and I just kept on. Nothing. I wasn't thinking of any. I just wanted to break the consistency of clays. That's all.
Yes, but I am sure that research, the way you have described it, I mean, the way it happens elsewhere in the world these days, is that research is a pursuit that involves heavy mega dollars, billions, and you're supported by big organizations and corporations. Did you at any time in the point of view research approach the major donors to assist you, to support you with these laudable projects that you had in hand?
Yes, I did, but maybe towards the end I did, but when it started I did not, because it appeared to me nobody even knew what I was talking about. All my colleagues sort of mocked the idea. Like, you are wasting your time. But when I came to Lagos as a private practitioner, I approached some banks. Of course,
the same negative attitude.
Very negative attitude.
If your colleagues didn't know what you were talking about,
yes.
I imagine that banks would have known less.
Not at all. So I was asking for support in transportation, Land Rover, to enable me visit soils all around Western Nigeria, Eastern Nigeria. Because flying would not help me. I wanted to be sure, or if possible, meter
in
to
touch
meter.
With the terra firma.
Yes. So it didn't work. So I found myself, even towards my old age, driving my vehicle to Mina, to Kaduna, driving to Enugu to look at soils. And it was tedious, but nobody came to my rescue fund-wise.
Sir, shouldn't that attitude change? Because discoveries in other parts of the world come as a result of R&D, as I said earlier on, research and development, and huge funds are invested.
Yes.
So if we're serious as a nation of making progress in so many diverse areas, shouldn't we be paying more organized attention to research and development?
Yes, certainly. The universities in particular are in fact little funded, and it's a pity, it's a disaster. The academicians, the lecturers, the professors are left with nothing fund-wise for their research. These are the people that have been trained, they've been brought up in particular ways to live their lives in certain restricted ways of academic development. And then the society, maybe government or whatever it is, denied this group of people adequate funding. So it's a disaster. It has to change. The various departments, whether arts or science or engineering, they are the same thing. Intellectual divisions do not exist. A professor of English carrying out research would eventually get results that will help engineering. People don't know.
So knowledge is interwoven.
Completely interwoven. We can't divide knowledge. So
and you should know, having studied the arts as well as the sciences.
Yes. I mean, my beginning, my foundation has been in the arts. I know what the arts do. Drama, English, French, German.
The classics?
Yeah, the classics. Come to sciences, go to technical engineering, the same thing intellectually. We only have these divisions for convenience, not absolute divisions. For instance, I give you if I want to go to Germany to carry out geological research and I do not understand German, I will be in problems because I could be easily misled by whoever my guide is. I will understand what he was talking about. He wouldn't understand what I was talking about. So we need each other to flow and to give this country the best.
Sir, you've invented this powder. You call it
Lateralite.
Lateralite. Is there any proven success for the use of Lateralite? I mean, have you tried it in construction over some stretch of road to ensure that it's really working?
No, it has not been practically tested as far as constructing a stretch of road is concerned. My present request is to enable me practicalize it. But despite that, anyway, for about 8 years, the students in the civil engineering department, whether at undergraduate or masters or even doctoral levels, have tested the powder to stabilize soils with varying levels of success. Now, different soils respond to the powder in different ways. But I claim now, authentically, that the reddish lateritic soils have been well treated, and I'm satisfied with the results.
So, but shouldn't you be working in collaboration or in conjunction with the Federal Roads Maintenance Agency? Have you been in touch with the MD of that body, Engineer Peters?
No, I've not been with Engineer Peters. I was with his predecessor, 2005. We had some discussions, but these things could be highly political. And as a scientist, I'm not that interested in the political side of issues. I want the powder taken, tested by farmer. All engineering divisions, districts or regions or local governments, come for the powder, test. Let me know the results with your soils. Now, Ondo State has done it. Osun State has done it. Some local contractors have done it.
And what have been the results?
Well, everybody without exception have told me that this powder is what they require to construct stable roads.
Sir, but now we'd have a problem, wouldn't we? You've worked as a scientist. You've discovered a substance that that you believe will help road construction greatly in Nigeria.
Yes.
But what about the mass production?
Well, the mass production will not be a problem because the materials for it are commonplace. If they had not been commonplace, I wouldn't have been interested in carrying out the research. The minerals, or so to say, the soil types needed are commonplace. So it's just like going there to test, you extract what you need, then it's a mixture of few minerals powdered to very fine
yes, sir,
sizes.
But what about the equipment that you need? That's what I'm alluding to, alluding at, because it's one thing to carry out research.
Yes.
Now, to produce at the level which will benefit all roads or major roads and highways in Nigeria is a different ballgame.
Yeah, that's right. We need the pulverizer, and the pulverizer is all about. People who engage in mineral beneficiation have pulverizers. People in cement industry have pulverizers. So it's just a question of acquiring the right size of pulverizer and the mixers and nothing else.
So what about the patent? Have you patented this invention so that very shortly you'll be smiling all the way to the bank? I know that that's not your primary objective, but that is an extension of a successful invention, isn't it?
Yes. Well, it was patented in 2005 at Abuja, and if only to prevent some pilfering of it and all that. So it was. And incidentally, it was a Chinese that was first interested in acquiring the formula and everything. So
I hope he didn't.
Oh, no. No, I wouldn't allow that. I wouldn't allow that. At least for once. Let this remain a Nigerian product for once.
So I'm sorry to seem like I'm making jest, but this is a very serious issue.
Yes.
We've been talking for years about the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, which extends all the way to Benin. And I remember that when that road, particularly the Lagos-Ibadan part of it, was commissioned, it was done with so much fanfare, and we were all so proud as Nigerians. But drive through that expressway today, and see what you have. Now, I'm surprised that since you discovered, you made this invention in 2004, the appropriate authorities haven't been beating a path to your door to see how this can improve the roads and highways that we have in the country, the network of roads and highways. What's the reluctance? Why the reluctance?
In fact, it will interest you that I was the young geologist that made the first soil test for Lagos-Ibadan Expressway.
Are you serious?
In 1972, after finishing at Unilag, my brother's company was given the contract by the Federal Ministry of Works. So I was the one sent on that project for about 9 months. I was making the tests. And the consultants, the British consultants, were not happy with the materials.
Why? Okay.
Because it failed the essential engineering tests. The soils, says from Baga to Shagamu interchange. Yeah, the soils failed woefully. It's what the engineers call the CBR, the California Bearing Ratio. Engineers will understand my jargon. So
California bearing
ratio.
Okay.
Yes, engineers use that to measure.
Which means what, really?
It's a
means. Standard?
Yeah, it's standard. Indirect way of measuring the bearing ability of a soil to be used for road construction when you've compacted it. And then you compact it and soak it in particular ways, standard ways. And then you measure the resistance to load. So this soil we are talking about failed all that test, but they were not happy. But then nothing could be done.
So why did you go on? I mean, it was evident from the very beginning.
Yes.
That this was a failure.
Right from the scratch.
So why did you go on? That was a political decision?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to think about that. Then the soils.
No, but this is very serious, sir.
Yes.
If there is a technical consideration.
Yes.
And there is a political decision to be made.
Yes.
In your view, shouldn't the political decision be influenced by the weight of the technical consideration?
Yes, certainly. Yes, certainly.
But we chose not to do that.
Well,
and we're paying the price for it today, aren't we?
We are. Not just in terms of naira or dollars or pounds, but in terms of human lives, which is the more serious aspect of it. Then the soils also from Shagamu interchange to Shagamu to Ijebode to Ore side, the same things.
So what could we have done differently? And what can we do now to begin to correct this position?
I think, very candidly,
yes,
stabilizing the soils will solve the problem. Like I told you
and
earlier,
what would this involve? Because we have to be cognizant of the fact that it's now a route people ply it every day.
Yes.
So in stabilizing, what is necessary? What would be involved? And what kind of inconvenience would the users of the route have to go through or put up with?
Well, I don't think what we have now,
yes,
along the road is far inconvenient. Far more inconvenient than we will have if we want to start stabilizing. Now, I leave that. I concede this aspect to the civil engineers because road making is their project. It's not a project of an engineering geologist. The engineering geologist simply will look at your soils and recommend to you, use this, do not use this because blah, 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 blah. Use this because it has this engineering properties. Now, if I, as a human being now, tell the civil engineers in charge, take this substance, try it on a 3-meter stretch, see how it behaves, then go to the drawing board and design and redesign your road to take cognizance of what you observe as the new properties of your construction soils. I think we will be on a safer side of the issue. Now, I see what the contractor is doing there. I feel a pity. I feel so sorry that they go all that, trying this.
When the answer is right there,
the answer is right there,
staring you in the face.
Yes. Control of moisture by capillary movement is what they need, and that is what this substance has virtually solved. When you stabilize the poor soil, which we call in geology a collapsing sand, put the powder there, mix it with right proportion and water, and it stops capillary movement of water. So roll it into position.
What is the capillary movement of water?
Now,
like
in
drainage?
every soil, if you put some soil in a container and you put a sample of soil upon that water, you will watch the water moving up the soil. That is known as capillary action, the electrical attraction of soil to the water. Because every clay particle is negatively charged. Water is a dipole. It has two ends, negative, positive. And with the negative soil, the positive end of water gets attached, and it keeps getting the attachment and moves up the soil. So that is the capillary action of water movement through soil.
So, for example, in the eastern parts of Nigeria,
Yes.
I'm trying to remember that word, but I think it will come. Where you have gullies,
Yes.
as a result of the composition of the soil.
Yes.
And you have said that predominantly in the southwest area and the southwest is predominantly clay. Is the composition of the soil in the southern parts of the country significantly different from what you find in the northern parts? Because I'm told that it costs less, for example, to maintain and construct roads in the north than it does in the south.
Yes, the controlling factors are geological, purely geological. And by geology I mean the configuration, the geomorphology of the terrains, and then the composition of what we call basement rocks. There are rocks in the north. Before you drill 2 meters, 3 meters, you are on solid, firm rock, granite or whatever it is. But in the south, you can drill 200 meters and you won't meet such rocks. Which means the south area, we have them as sedimentary rocks. And the soils are very, very problematic because water level is very near to the surface. But in the north, with the control of the basement rocks, the soils derived from these rocks in situ are engineering friendly. So,
and this was all put there by nature.
By nature. Nature is very kind. So even the composition of the so-called granite, the minerals involved are very engineering friendly. They don't present the civil engineer with much problems. But in the south, the delta area, you have all sorts of funny clay minerals in the soil. And that is the whole essence of stabilization. Chemical stabilization, as this powder would do. Throw the powder into the bad soil in the south, so long as it is lateritic, then we have to get that definition of laterite. Lateritic soil, the powder unites the iron oxide and the aluminum oxide.
Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
What is a lateritic soil?
Very good. Now, the word laterite really is not a scientific term. It has been derived from a Latin word. Later in Latin means brick. So this man, British man Buchanan, in 1807, was an administrator in India. He came from England. He was more like a Latinist. So he saw red soils being molded into building blocks in India. He didn't see any such thing in England. So he simply called it laterite, block making soil, because it had clay. It's the clay that qualifies the soil to be remolded like that and to harden very quickly on exposure to air. So here, any red soil with the clay, we say laterite. But then that's a disaster.
Professor Meshida, I am positively engaged with you, but my producers are asking me to take a break.
Okay.
And that's what I'll do. We'll come back to you for more interesting stuff.
All right.
Well, viewers, thank you very much for spending part of your time with us. This is One-on-One for this day with Dr. Ebenezer Ajibola Meshida. He's the LNG Prize winner for science in the last year, that is 2008. But he got his doctorate in geotechnics and geotechnical engineering almost 3 decades ago. And if you've been listening, he's talking about how discoveries in science can make life better for us, particularly in our road and highway construction. We'll take a break right here, and when we come back, we'll address more interesting stuff. Please don't go away. Well, thank you very much for spending part of your time with us. If you're just joining us, this is a one-on-one for this day with Dr. Ebenezer Ajibola Meshida. He's the LNG Prize winner for science in the year 2008. He's also invented a powder to improve road construction. But my question is, why are roads not better? Why haven't people built a path to your door to take advantage of this invention?
Well, I suppose everybody in authority is trying to take time to be cautious so that they don't run into some difficulty they won't be able to explain. But science is all about experiments and obtaining results. So we shouldn't be afraid to go into the testing. We need a lot of further experiments, practical this time. Practical experiments, that would tend towards application.
Some curious thing, though, if some foreigner had made this discovery, do you think the attitude of our authorities and other Nigerians would have been different?
Well, you see, we have a peculiar society, despite our different levels of education. This same powder was taken to Atlanta in Georgia when I went to do the further studies, microscope studies, electron microscope studies. And there is this area in Atlanta, Rex, is one of the mega city divisions. I tested the powder there. The construction engineers there wanted the powder immediately, without further discussion. And I just told them, oh, it's a pity. I'm not familiar with the terrain in America. I can't produce this powder for you. And it's difficult to transport the sample from Lagos to Atlanta. So they lamented it.
Why did you respond in that manner?
Well, I couldn't produce the powder then. It was still under experimentation. And I was there to carry out electron microscopy of the powder. So just to test what it did or what it would do to the soil in Rex. And they wanted the thing immediately. And I think my visa was to expire 2-3 days or something. So I just had to come back quickly. So I had to tell them, sorry, you can't have it now, but later we can agree, we can make arrangements to have it. Now,
so what happened thereafter?
We've been in some form of communication, but I'm billed to be there September this year, and then we can talk further.
Okay, very quickly, so you know that scientists and artists are they don't make very good businessmen.
I know that.
Now that you have this invention,
yes,
do you have a business backup that would ensure that not only do Nigeria and Nigerians benefit from this invention, that you would also be a mega billionaire in your lifetime? Do you have a business consortium that's taking care of that?
Unfortunately, none. We are just trying. 1, 2, 3 people talking together. We're just trying to put something together. Up till last night, we still had some discussion, some loose discussion. But like I said, what I observe is everybody is cautious. Will this thing work? Will it not work?
Yes, but in research, you pour in billions.
Yes.
Some of it doesn't work, but when one works,
yes,
then you are rewarded, yes, for all your toil and strain.
Yes, I pray.
Are we slow to take advantage, sir, in this climate of opportunities?
We definitely are slow, very slow. It's not me alone. I've seen researchers all over various universities. University of Lagos has many researchers. They've achieved, but nobody talks about them. Nobody wants.
Sir, there is a disconnect there somewhere.
Yes.
So shouldn't that communication gap be filled? It's one thing to sit down. If you hadn't come out, if you probably hadn't won the LNG prize for 2008 for science, we wouldn't know that such discoveries were available. And here we are, roads collapsing, people dying on the roads, when the solution is right there before us.
Yes.
What is wrong?
Well, your guess is as good as mine.
Let me go back to the road, sir. What causes potholes in this part of the country?
Okay, potholes result from water action on soils. There are three basic ways water can afflict completed roads. The rainwater, storm water, very obvious. If there is a crack in the bitumen finish, in the wearing course, water goes down there, destabilizes, makes the base course soft, and then the asphalt collapses on that. That's number one. Number two, non-functioning side drains. There is lateral movement of water by capillary action. Then there is water action from below, vertical movement. So these three, or any of them, could be in action to cause local softening of base courses. The soil compacted on which the asphalt is laid is known as the base course. Now, in particular, capillary action of water is a phenomenon of every climatic zone in the world, even in deserts. It is known as vadose water. Water moves up systematically, slowly, and gets the base course softened. So you drive on it, sudden collapse, and sporadic. So we have a lot of that. I mean, when we construct our roads with clay materials, so we must expect such destabilization.
So in the past, I mean, when I was growing up in a place like Lagos, we had what you knew then as PWD, Public Works Department, who carried out regular maintenance.
Yes.
But it's been observed that maintenance or regular maintenance doesn't seem to be a part of our culture. What would we do? What need we do to change that situation around?
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that, I mean, the observation is perfect. That's the truth. It's very unfortunate. We just have to develop maintenance culture. The PWD, yes, maybe every 10 miles in those days, you have a camp, a road camp. We still have them in Ondo states, no, but non-functional.
But isn't that what FEMA is supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose that's what FEMA it should be doing. But then people ask for huge sums of money in terms of, I don't know the terminology they call them in civil service. They want allocation for this, allocation for that. In the colonial era, I know, I witnessed it. As soon as any pothole or failure patch was noticed, before 24 hours,
it was rectified.
It will be corrected. Yes. That's the system in England. In England, there are civil engineers attached to to specific stretches. And you as the engineer, you have no business elsewhere but to parade your own bit
and see what's wrong.
And see what is there and get it corrected immediately.
So there's been talk about, I remember FEMA having said that we have to wait, I think, until 2020 before 60% of our road network would be judged acceptable. Isn't that a long time to wait?
Well, the pronouncement to me as a human being is very funny. I simply smile. I say, what's this? We are not being technical now. I think we are just trying to use words somehow. Why?
No,
why must we wait?
They keep talking about the availability of funds. As you said, maybe the amount allocated for road maintenance each year is far short of what is required to carry out this maintenance projects.
Yeah, I suppose that not enough funds are allocated to maintenance. If there had been enough funds, farmer would not be making such statements. We need millions, billions. Yes, they should be made available. After all, what do we spend the money on? Nothing tangible as I can see. We talk about trillion now. I don't know what trillion means.
That's a billion in 1,000 places.
Good luck to
and
us.
a billion is a million in 1,000 places.
Well. Use of words.
Sir, at the risk of flattering you, I see sitting before me what we would have described and what we should describe as a genius.
Thank you very much.
When you were growing up, I mean, I gleaned through your impressive CV. There was nothing exceptional about you. Itagbolu, Akure local government area of Ondo State, and you went to, well, it was always a good school, Christ School at
Christ School, Oyemekun Grammar School,
yes.
Oyemekun to begin. Then
so at what stage did you glean that you had something different, something that stood you away from the pack?
Well, that question really, to me, I wouldn't know how to answer, because up till now, I don't see what it is that makes me anything special at all. Nothing whatsoever.
That's humility, sir. Doctor, you won the LNG prize for science in 2008. How did you get into the competition?
We saw it like any other person as an advertisement in the papers. I was not even interested. It was my son-in-law that made it compulsory for me to put in. And I said, well, in this country, as far as I know,
the result would have been predetermined.
Yes, exactly. And then, but he insisted, and I obliged.
What particular work did you enter?
It was this powder. I put in this powder. How it was necessary, or why it was necessary to go into the research, and how long it took, the research took me, and the subsequent results obtained from the powder. I mean, those were the highlights of my entry.
And how many entrants were there?
I was told, or we were told, there were 48 entries in the competition, and of course many of them from very senior research professors in different universities.
Now, after having examined what you submitted for the competition,
yes,
was there a need for further interviews, or were you just judged on the basis of what you submitted?
It was on the basis of what I submitted, like everybody submitted. No further interviews.
In other words, were you impressed by the fact that we had amongst the judges people with enough depth to understand the claims you were making?
In fact, the judges were members of the Academy of Science, Nigeria Academy of Science. These are renowned researchers who have achieved in their own respective fields. They are civil engineers, mechanical engineers, geologists, and all that. So the panel of judges had to read all the papers, and then they had to be unanimous in the selection. And we were told the panel of judges were unanimous.
So it's kind of odd, you know. You've published articles in learned journals, and as a matter of fact, I know that your efforts at research are ongoing.
Yes.
Because you've done a case study of wells in Nigeria Delta Complex.
Yes.
What was that about?
In the Niger Delta, there is problem of saltwater intrusion, and in Port Harcourt area, there's very inadequate supply of fresh water. So we've used geophysical methods. That's a method in which you pass electricity into the ground, and you can measure different strata and the water level and what type of water. We've done that, and we've been able to arrive at locating precisely fresh water levels in some parts of the Niger Delta. Now, as we have been talking about, government, or maybe local government, maybe regional, no, we don't have regional governments anymore, we have state governments, should go and procure funds for research to solve problems of water supply. Now, it is not drilling wells, boreholes, that is the solution. Geophysics is what we need.
So we're still living, sir, as though we're in the 18th or 14th century. This is the 21st century.
Yes.
So it's not only the citizens that have to wake up, but our governments and our leaders must.
Yes. Geophysics. Geophysics would tell you what is available on the ground. Mineral resources, water, petroleum. You see, petroleum is in the hands of the expatriates. That's why they have the successes. They record successes everywhere. Our water supply is in our own hands, and we don't know how to go about it. Then we just drill boreholes here and there, and billions, and nothing happens. It's a wrong method of knowing what you have.
Have you at any time ever been invited by the government to take a closer look at some of these things that you talk about?
No.
No?
No. I'm not known by any government.
Yes, but through your published articles, particularly in learned journals, you're also talking about, in your article, another article,
yes,
water pollution in parts of Lagos State. What does this...
Yes, it's pollution, pollution in Ajah area. In fact, I had a doctoral student graduated that studied Lagos, Epe, Ajah area for water pollution. So we are probably not a reading society. We hardly read. And when it is learned journal, it's there in the archive. People use it in the universities to earn promotion and all that, and that's the end of it.
Yes, I was suggesting earlier, sir. So my question is, it's evident that there is some form of communication gap,
yes,
which needs to be breached,
yes,
between the eggheads, if I can use that expression.
Yes, certainly.
Those who have been gifted and those who are the at the forefront of thinking. You do things, you experiment, there are results, but nobody knows about these results, and there is very little practical application.
Yes.
So there must be a means,
yes,
to bridge this divide between the thinkers and the doers.
Yes.
What should we do?
Well, I suppose there are different ministries of government. Ministry of Works, to which I am relevant, but in which I am unknown, for whatever reason I don't know. There are Ministry of Water Resources. These ministries should move much closer to the universities. What researches are you doing? How can we support you? How can we use your results? How can we make further experiments to practicalize what we have invented or we have zeroed upon? That should be a way of the ministries doing that with the universities. We are not divisions at all. We should come together and dialogue together
for the ultimate welfare,
yes, of the citizenry.
Of the citizenry.
Yes.
So there's also some of your ongoing academic research, vibroflotation,
yes,
compaction,
yes,
a creditable alternative to piles and foundation engineering.
Yes.
Practice examples from Lagos State, Nigeria. Very briefly, tell me what that is about.
Well, the vibroflotation seems a big word, but it is not. You vibrate granular materials in situ, and you make the vibration, make them to achieve much higher bearing ability, bearing capacity, and then you build on that without fear of failure. Now, instead of piling everywhere, piling via every, you can look at your subsoils. If it is sandy enough, just vibrate by a standard method to make it achieve very high standard and bearing capacity and build your story buildings or your multi-story, whatever it is.
Sir, how did you feel when you won this LNG prize for science?
Well, the winning for many weeks frightened me because I wasn't expecting any such big thing, even though I put in for it. And then after some time, I started to think, how could it be? I mean, to me, all the results had become simple. although I had suffered for a long time.
Okay.
But
so you had a prize money,
yes,
as well
I
as
had
a
a prize
citation.
money, yes.
A prize money of how much?
It's $50,000.
Well, what did you do with it, if I may ask?
Well, I have procured a few articles, the plant, which I need to further this research. And, well, practically, I had gone to Akure to complete my
your bungalow.
my bungalow there. So at the end of it all, I have somewhere to run to.
So are we doing enough for science education? Or education in general, since you say the arts are as important as the sciences?
Well, my answer is no. We are not doing enough. We are doing something. Government is doing something, local government doing something, different governments are doing something, but they should do much, much, much more, because education is a bedrock of what they call development.
What about reaching individuals, floating foundations? And shouldn't we have more LNG prizes? Shouldn't we have more corporate organizations coming to the fore to increase, to encourage knowledge?
Yes, certainly. The banks, for instance, can have their own foundations. Research foundations is what we really need. There cannot be too many. The NLNG, of course, is peculiar, very special, backed by the Academy of Science. To do so many things.
Dr. Meshida, sir, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
And I wish you the very best in all your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Well, viewers, thank you very much for spending part of your time with us. This has been One-on-One for this day with Dr. Ebenezer Meshida, a doctor in geotechnics and geotechnical engineering. He won the LNG Prize for Science last year. He also runs his private organization known as Tetra Geotechnical Engineering Nigeria Limited. It is evident that the future belongs to science and vice versa. We live in the 21st century, so let's all of us take advantage of what we have at our doorsteps. Thank you very much for spending part of your time with us. Today has been nice. Today has been fun. Tomorrow is another day.